creating lines using the endpoint method. If we wish to create lines using endpoints, one of the first things we need to do is activate the command. To activate the create line endpoints command, I can select create line endpoint, or I can click on its icon in the toolbar for create line endpoint. As soon as I start any command in Mastercam, I'm always going to get a hint. What should I do? In this case, I need to specify the first endpoint. In Mastercam, as soon as I start a command and I want to enter an endpoint, I can immediately type on my keypad. You'll notice as soon as I start typing, what I've done is activate the fastpoint command, which can also be activated by clicking on its icon here. If I've selected any of these other input boxes and I wish to do fastpoint, I will need to then click on the fastpoint. As soon as I start typing, the window pops up for me to enter the coordinates. I always enter the coordinates in the form of x, y, z. However, if I'm in 2D creation mode, I don't need to enter the z coordinate because all lines will be created in the z plane set here at the z level, in this case 0. So again, I can come up here to my fastpoint box, press comma, and now enter 0 for the y coordinate and press enter again, and I've started a line whose first endpoint is anchored at x0, y0. For this sample, we're going to create a part shown here. Okay, we're going to create all this geometry in the front view of this drawing for this bar puller. Okay, so I need to decide where my part origin will be. In this case, I'll let it be right here. So the first line I want to create is either a horizontal line here that goes negative 0.688 in the x, or a vertical line that goes negative 1.25 in the y. Come back to Mastercam. I'll create the vertical line first. So I need to enter its coordinates. So x coordinate will be 0, comma, negative 1.25 for the y. Press enter, and I've created the line. Right? The line is blue, meaning it's not fixed. I can change it. If I wish it to be fixed, I can select apply, or I can just start typing coordinates again, or click anywhere on the screen, and that will take the input to be the first endpoint of the next line. If I had decided this should really be the horizontal line coming over 0.188, I can still change it because the line is blue. To do that, I need to enter its angle, 180 degrees. So by now you should be aware that angles in Mastercam are measured from the horizontal axis counterclockwise, hence this being 180 degrees, and I can enter its length here as 0.188. And if I forget my length, I can go back and double check it and go, oops, it's 0.688. Again, not written in stone, so I can click back here in the length, change the distance to 0.688. The line will update. I can click apply if I'm happy, or I can select an endpoint. In this case, I'll re-click 0, 0. The line color will change to green. It is now fixed. And I want to create the next line coming down, 0.1.25. So what do I type? 0, again, I've activated the fastpoint command. So 0 is the x coordinate, comma, minus 1.25 is the y. Press enter, and I have my next line. I want to work from this endpoint, so I'll select it. I now want to go negative 6.5. So the second endpoint is negative 6.5 in the x, comma, negative 1.25 in the y, and I can press enter. I'll fit the screen so we can see what we've done. Again, so this is creating lines endpoint. For my next line, I'll just come up here and I'll continue to work my way around the part. So I want my endpoint to be here, and this time I'm going to come positive y 1.25. I will select this endpoint as the first one, and now I can type x coordinate negative 6.5, comma, the y coordinate will be 0. Press enter, and I've created that line. If I wish to come back here, that's fine. I can select on this endpoint. I now have my line, create line endpoints locked to this point. Go back and look at my drawing. This one should come down, negative 0.188. We won't worry about the tolerance here. So again, what do I type? Well, I need to remember the x-coordinate of this line was negative 0.688. Okay? If I start typing and FastPoint doesn't pick up, I could just click on FastPoint and again type negative 0.688, comma, the y-coordinate, which will now be negative 0.1. And if I don't recall, I'll go back, look at my drawing, and go, oh yes, 0.188. So I'm going to go negative 0.188, enter, and once again I've created a line using FastPoint. So I want to create my next line. I'll just come back and look at my drawing once again, and I need to create this little line here. And if I'm not very good at math, I'm going to go, oh shoot, how can I calculate what this distance is? Well, there's several ways around it. I can let Mastercam do the calculation by entering the equation in, or I could come back up to this endpoint, create a line 0.375 long, and then from there I can create this line, and I can create this line. I can come back and delete that. So I'll take that method first. So I'm going to create another horizontal line, starting here, going negative 0.375 in the x. Okay, so I'm in Create Line Endpoint. I'll select this as the first endpoint, and this time I'm just going to drag across horizontally and click. It's still blue, and what I'll do is now click in the length field and enter 0.375. Okay. Once again, I'm going to choose this as the endpoint for my next line, and I'll just come over and join it up with this endpoint. Okay. Still blue, not written in stone. Click here, give it the sense of coming down in the negative 90 degrees. Click, come back here, and I can enter 0.188, or every length I've entered will be stored here. So if I've already entered the length, I can choose it from the drop down menu. So I'm going to type 0.188, and I've created this line. To exit the line command, I click OK, and as I said earlier, I would like to delete this line, so I'm going to highlight it, and then I'm going to choose to delete, and it's gone. Frequently, I should save my work. I'm going to reactivate the line command and finish this part. I now wish to create the rest of the geometry for the T-slot. And again, I'm going to assume I can't do the math in my head. Starting at this point, I'm going to create this small line by using the equation. The equation I'll use is 6.25 minus 0.375 divided by 2, and that'll tell me the length of this line. So back in Mastercam, I'm in Create Line Endpoint. I'll select this as my endpoint. I'll give it the direction, click, come back up here to the length, and enter my equation, which was 0.625 minus 0.375. Press enter, I'll have my answer, and now I can take the 1/4 inch, click twice, add the divide sign by 2, enter again, and now I have the proper line length. So once again, I can select this is the endpoint for the next line, or I can come over here, give it the sense of direction, and re-enter 0.125 as the length. If I'm happy, I can choose Apply. Okay. So we're almost done. I need to come back and check my drawing one more time. These two vertical lines are also 0.188 in length. So in line still, I don't need to reactivate the command. I'll click, I'll come down, click, again choose the length, 0.188, enter. Select that endpoint, I can come across. The length this time should be 0.625, and if I've done everything correctly, I should be able to draw a line through these endpoints. Accept this, and I've created the geometry required.